What's up, everyone, and welcome to a Hungover podcast, episode 107. Today, we're going to be discussing the recent measles outbreak in America, at least in the context of America, the newest Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer, and of course, we'll be discussing some science news, some recent findings in science news. Stay tuned for that. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Julien, alongside
Ivan, and you can catch us every week coming to you on Twitch so that you guys can chat along with us. Really, it's like a call and response program. Really, that's what we're looking for, like a modern talk radio show. But if you can't tune in for that, then you can always catch us in video form on YouTube and then elsewhere on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud in just the audio form. But you won't be able to see my new glasses, which I'm pretty proud of.
I'm impressed. They look great, man.
Yeah.
They look great, yeah.
Have good insurance, so these Gucci glasses were super sale. But
shit.
If you want to check those...
Is that what insurance does? It makes things on sale?
It wasn't on sale, but
technically,
I only had to pay like 10% of the price.
Yeah.
So
that's a good
what
discount.
I consider a sale. If you, like me, were going to rate your glasses experience, but instead of glasses purchasing experience, we're going to rate how this podcast was, you could go to iTunes and put that down in there, write a little review. But, don't rush to judgment. If you listen to a few, then take the time out. If you haven't, then let's wait and see how this one goes for you to decide whether it's worth your 2 minutes to really do this. So it's 2 minutes. You spend that much looking at Twitter on the toilet. So I'm pretty sure people have the time to do this. Julien.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
That's the rigmarole. We're at 97 subs, so once we hit that 100, we'll restart Season 3 of Drunk Play, or Let's Plays, depending on how we're going to do them. I'm really excited to get that started again, and hopefully by that time, my regular computer, my tower, will be okay.
Yeah, that would be really awesome, because we have been going through some unfortunate Discord problems, because Discord is a fantastic application for your personal computer.
Sponsor us,
Discord. We hate
Other than Discord, which we love, there has been media that both of us have consumed, and also some bevs. We start every week talking to each other about what media did we consume that week and what did you drink last night. So Julien, over to you.
What have I been doing? I have been playing a lot of Final Fantasy X/10-2 HD Remaster on the Nintendo Switch. Of course, I've been streaming it on Fridays at this Twitch channel, which you can find in the link's description, but below.
Are you streaming right now?
But yeah, I am streaming right now.
Okay.
I don't. But yes, so that game is really fantastic. I talked about it last week, so you can go listen to my impressions then if you'd like. I really am enjoying it. I'm actually getting into the story. I know when I was playing Final Fantasy IX, I definitely sort of zoned out of the story by the end, and I just wanted to finish the game. But this game, I've gotten, around 30 hours in so far, and I'm pretty still engaged in the story, surprisingly.
That's
aside
a lot of
from
hours
that,
to be actually paying attention, not just skipping through those dialogue options.
Exactly. Oh, I know these things happened a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to talk about them on the podcast. 1 week, like 2.5 weeks ago, I went to a play, and I live in New York City, so it's very easy for me to go to plays, but I don't go to them very often because it's very expensive. But I went to a play called Ain't Too Proud, which is a play about the Temptations, the R&B and soul band, Motown band. Sorry, band. Do you call them a band? Group, Motown group.
Artists
of artists. They're
just let's
formally
genericize the whole thing.
I don't know
Motown
what I'm saying.
Artists,
which was a pretty cool. It's about the life and times of the Temptations, which are. I think honestly, in today's culture, like they're famous enough that you would know almost all of their songs, but you don't know, but they're not famous enough that you know anything about them. In terms of the actual people themselves. So it was actually really educational for me. I didn't know a lot about them. But and they were popular they've been around for a while, actually. And there's been many Temptations, members of the group, as it were. I think there were 25 of them.
Jeez.
But at any given time there were only 5 or 6 of them. I don't remember. So it's actually a really cool play, and it was a musical. Of course they had really great music in it and dancing, because the Temptations are known for dancing and putting on a show. The other cool thing was that it was an entirely black cast except for one person, because one of their managers happened to be white, I think.
Usually the case.
Yeah, usually the case.
The managers, the money people, even for
right.
all black groups, tended to be white.
Exactly. So this was it went through the civil rights movement. They were around in the 50s, and then all the way through, I think, even currently. I don't know. I don't know when they officially stopped making music, but they had some tragic deaths in the group, of the more famous Temptations members, and as with many musicians, you go out in a very dramatic way, whether it be alcohol or drugs or substance abuse. A lot of musicians do abuse these types of things because fame can really get to your head, that type of stuff. I don't claim to know much about it myself because I'm not a musician, but it was really it had its ups and downs. It was hilarious. It was a really funny play. I think it was really interesting because it was an all black cast, so there were actually a lot of black people in the audience, which you don't typically see in a New York City play, I don't think. It's usually a lot of people that are coming in from all around the world, of course, but a lot of people from Long Island and New Jersey, who have a little more money, are the people going to these plays the majority of the time. Right. I would say. I mean, on average, let's say those are the primary people who go see plays in New York City. And musicals, of course. So it was really cool to see a totally different demographic in the crowd. And it was a really great play, so I highly suggest you go check it out if you haven't already, and if you have the opportunity to. I hope it goes on tour, actually. It's very popular.
That'd be
Nikki's, cool. Yeah, we got really good tickets because Nikki, my girlfriend's boss's husband, produced the play. He's a producer of a lot of plays and musicals in New York City, so we can potentially get tickets for a lot of things. Aside from that, I also went to another very cultural thing that I did. I went to the Tribeca Film Festival to go see Hideo Kojima discuss, and I forgot to talk about this on the podcast. I don't know why. This was like the hypest thing I ever did. I saw Hideo Kojima, my favorite.
I bragged about that you were going to the people at the Microsoft store.
Oh,
just so you know how invested I was.
Very good, very good. Hideo Kojima is a video game director. He's currently working on a very cryptic game, I would say, called Death Stranding.
It a movie.
I was probably just
an
a movie.
Interactive video. Some internet content he's working on.
He's obviously most well known for the Metal Gear Solid series, which is probably my favorite video game franchise. I love those games. So once he announces the release date of the game, I'm going to be playing through all the games on my Twitch channel, all the Metal Gear games, anyways. But yeah, so I can't say I know.
Time for that? Long.
They are long games, but I don't. Only Metal Gear 5 is actually really that long. They're like 20, 30-hour games. Maybe they're kind of longer. I don't know. If you watch all the cutscenes, they're like 500-hour games. So, it was really cool. They also had Norman Reedus on the panel, and who's the host of, and of course the translator. Who's the host of the Video Game Awards? Geoff Keighley. No, I forget his name. He's the host of Video.
I don't remember. Jeff VGA's. He's
He
been
was
on a bunch of podcasts. Jeff Keighley.
Okay, yeah.
Keighley?
He was
Keighley?
Keighley. That's he was the moderator of the panel, and so he was pretty much just interviewing Hideo Kojima and Norman Reedus. And Norman Reedus he's pretty funny, man. I thought it was hilarious. Basically,
is that dude American?
I think so. He sounded pretty American to me.
Because of course he was in Boondock Saints. That's probably how most people my age would know him.
Our age, yes.
But since then is obviously Daryl from The Walking Dead.
So basically, I think the game is a Norman Reedus simulator. It seems like Hideo Kojima is really obsessed with Norman Reedus as an actor, and he really wanted to give every aspect. This is literally what he was describing. He wanted to include every aspect of Norman Reedus in this game, and like every aspect, because as you saw in some of the trailers, if you watch them, he's pretty much naked, and one of them holding a baby.
So does he lean
he
left
is naked
or right?
on a beach. I don't know. I have no idea. But he said that he wanted to scan. He has scanned all of his tattoos, so they have a full body scan of Norman Reedus, full body, and he will say he'll patch in if Norman Reedus gets more tattoos in the future after the game comes out, he'll patch in, no pun intended, his tattoos onto the character model.
I'll believe it when the game comes out.
So I think it has to do the only real thing that they could really discuss. Of course, they were discussing the development of the game and things like that. But in terms of story and gameplay, the only really things, they had to be really cryptic because they can't discuss it yet. But the only really thing that I got out of it in terms of that is that the game is themed around and uses as a metaphor how we're all connected via social media right now, in this, in 2019, and we're all really obsessed with each other and connected via social media, but we're super disconnected from everyone at the same time because of social media. So that he's going to use that as a metaphor in the game, and that's pretty much what I understood. And it was a cool panel.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so we'll see how it works. He also did say he wanted you to feel like you're playing as Norman Reedus.
He wanted me to do that?
When you're playing the game, the player, that's what you're doing.
Oh, the player. I thought he knew me by name.
Well, yeah, you specifically, if you ever play it.
You made me feel really special just there.
He made us all feel special.
This is now the Hideo Kojima podcast.
Yes, I love that guy. And he wanted to include every aspect from like Boondock Saints to Walking Dead to whatever else he's done in the game, or something like that. It was very confusing, but it was also really great. And I'm very confused about the game still. But aside from that, that's about it for me. I've been listening to a lot of I've been listening. I actually started listening to The Strokes again when I'm working out. Do you listen to that band?
Yeah, The Strokes are great. I'd also go through these phases when I just want like some classic sounded driving rock.
Yeah, so I've noticed, I mean, I loved them when I was in college and high school, but I've noticed that all their songs sound exactly the same. The main singer does not have any range on his voice at all.
Is that Julian Casablancas?
I think so. I'm not saying I can sing better than him. I'm just saying that every sound, he's pretty much the same tone in all of his songs. I think they're in New York City. They're a band that started in New York City. But yeah, they're pretty cool. I do like their guitar and basses a lot. They're pretty good. Go give them a listen. They have some pretty good songs. Like if you're really into their sound, then you will like all of their songs because they're all the same.
That little known band, The Strokes.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's about it for me. How about you, Ivan?
Let's see. This week has been pretty intense for me at work. So I work like 12-hour days. Get to work by 7 and leave work at 7:30. So when I get home, it's mostly like, I do get to eat like a quick breakfast, and I have time for lunch at work. But
vegan bagels.
No,
because
it's not. It's not the cafe I work.
Oh yeah, you're not. I know it's not, but I forgot that you quit that job. Also, obviously.
Yeah.
So no longer vegan bagels.
No vegan bagels. It's just plain super pro and probiotic and whatever biotic yogurt in the mornings for me with a cup of coffee. And usually a string cheese, and that will tide me over until lunch, generally. But we'll see. So I haven't had a lot of time. I've been keeping up with Game of Thrones, but nobody cares about anybody who has an opinion about that. So just everybody who watches, just keep watching. Yes, the last episode was too dark, and nothing really happened, despite it being a critical moment.
Actual, like, dark in terms of tone or dark in terms of lighting?
Dark in terms of lighting.
Both.
The consistent complaint from everybody who I talked to was like, I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on because it was too dark. I was like, yeah, it was weird. Too dark. It's everybody's streaming this, and because everybody's streaming it, the resolution is like 480 or whatever. It's impossible to actually watch. It's not HD when you're streaming it at that point.
Okay.
Because
makes sense.
Well, it depends on who's broadcasting, but also it is the television event that everybody's watching. If everybody's watching something similar, so everybody's streaming it, and it's a big strain on their servers, I'm sure. So everybody's streaming at like a lower resolution on the night of, and it was just so black you couldn't understand it. And it also taught me that when I stream it at that low rate, I don't get true blacks on my TV.
Does your TV doesn't have HDR then, right? Or is it?
I know.
Is it a backlit panel?
You're asking me questions that I don't know the answers to. I bought
You're
this.
the one that works on a movie set. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't. I care about my computer. My TV I bought in like 2012.
Yeah, I know you bought it a while ago. So it's probably backlit.
Yeah, I mean I could look.
But it's
up
a pretty
the model.
nice TV.
Yeah, it's a Sony Bravia. It's like it was pretty good for the time. It was highly rated on consumer, but I don't actually know the answers to the questions you're asking me because I haven't really cared enough up until this point.
Okay.
Like when I stream stuff, I don't really care what it looks like visually for the most part, and then when I have Blu-rays, it's Blu-ray quality, so I don't really care either because it's going to be really good. In between that, it's just like, I'm getting the information. I'm not really looking for stunning visuals. Although No Country for Old Men, when watched on Netflix, was superb.
Nice.
But it's a lot brighter film, so it's easier to stream, I think. It's a lot harder to picture black.
Oh, yeah.
For the exact reasons that you were talking about in terms of how it's lit and the kind of screen that you have and all that shit.
Yeah, OLED's the way to go. OLED.
Well, if I had the money when I was working for $5 an hour, sure, I would have invested a bit more. I was just happy that my TV had internet access. Yeah, so I've been keeping up on Game of Thrones. This week, no D&D update because my group canceled on me on the day.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I was really
We
upset.
could. So you're saying we could have played Overwatch on Monday?
We could
God
have,
damn
but then
it.
one of my friends, who's also a DM and in my group, we went out for drinks and just
Oh, okay,
talked
never mind.
Dungeons and Dragons.
That's fine.
So media that I did consume, I bought. So D&D Beyond is a great service. If you watch Critical Role, you know exactly what they are. It's basically an electronic compendium of all of the things, but they have a really good character UI, so that you can build your character based on whatever books that you've bought. So they have a licensing agreement with Wizards of the Coast, and so you can build for cheaper than it is to buy an actual hard copy.
Mm-hmm.
You can create a character based on whatever the rules and regulations of the source book are. So, like, your basic classes are in the basic rules, but you can have expanded spell lists if you buy the additional core rule books and things like that. So, I was checking out getting all of the core rule books, and it priced out to like $230. And then
Okay.
I found but there's the and that's like 8 books, but there's 26 books in total, which after you apply the 25% discount code was like $350. So I was like, the difference between 230 and 350 is like it's $100, which is not cheap.
$120.
Yeah, but it's a whole bunch more books with different adventures that I can pull ideas from, and you get 15% discount on all future purchases.
Okay.
In addition to whatever you can apply to it, I'm pretty sure. So that can be up to, like 30 or something, 32% with a 15% discount, 25 and 15 later on. Anyway, regardless, I decided to buy everything. So I bought everything. And
Okay.
now I'm able to give all of that information to my players, because they also have a subscription service where you can pass that information on to everybody who's in your campaign. So now all my players don't have to buy books, they just have to bring in an internet accessible device, and they're good.
Nice. That's pretty
So
cool.
it was good for everybody. It'll really help them learn their characters and things, because it's actually a pretty well designed UI in terms of character builder. In terms of their stuff for dungeon masters, it's really bad, in my opinion, from just looking at it. Like, you can bring in characters, but there's no space to store stat blocks for like NPCs that you have built out or anything. So I think it could use some work, but they seem to be continuously working on it, and it seems to be a pretty popular service. So I think it was a decent investment, at least in the short run. It's not going to shutter in the next few days, and D&D has never been more popular. So
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
excited about it. I'm shifting away from video games because I don't have the time to do anything except for try and play Overwatch on the weekends with Julien, and I really want to play a lots more D&D because it's super exciting for me. So that's what I
Okay.
had. And then in terms of drinking, I had a Whitefield Cuvée from Herman Weimer that we popped open on Thursday. That was the best alcohol I had this week.
Nice.
Probably
Sounds
it
good,
was
man.
it's a really good field blend of a bunch of white grapes. You get a really strong Gewürztraminer in there, a touch of course with Riesling, and I think a touch of Sauv Blanc or some sort of other white grape that I couldn't really discern necessarily, but I did get the strong Gewürz and Riesling flavors, and those are good even on their own. So I was pretty happy.
All right. That's great. Yeah.
I rushed through that, Julian. I know. I feel like with my glasses on, my eyes look super big. Everybody
Is
will
your
have to tune in because because I'm farsighted. So these
Okay.
are for nearsighted vision, so they kind of make my eyes look bigger. So I kind of feel like the old man. Do you remember that I think it was a Pixar thing where the old man is playing chess with himself and he has those huge glasses that make his eyes look huge? I feel
No,
like
I
the
don't.
old, okay. I feel like that old man, whatever the case may be. So Julian, I have an
Yes.
affliction of the eye called latent myopia, and I'm trying to fix it with glasses. But it seems that in the United States, there's a different affliction that is It's not stopping. I mean, it's only affected like 800 people. There are only 700, 800 cases reported, but half of those people are children under the age of 5.
Yeah. What is it called again?
Measles.
The disease? It sucks. Measles are back. The new thing in New York and around America is a disease that we pretty much eradicated in this country in the year 2000.
Yeah, it was declared eliminated in the U.S.
19 years ago. 19 whole years ago, it was gone. And now it's back. So, Yvonne.
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
That's an excellent question. I don't understand how the outbreaks could start. Just because I don't know how... If there's no cases of measles around, how do you start having measles?
Yes.
Because specifically measles is a disease that I don't understand completely.
Yeah, I'm not
so
sure.
if you could enlighten me about the whole understanding of measles, that'd be great. But in terms of why there are so many cases happening now, it's a culmination of a few things. So some of them are, a lot of the cases in New York City, for example, are in Orthodox Jewish communities, which have some...
And Hasidic Jews.
Yeah, which have some issues with the vaccination process. But in addition, there's a growing number of people who are anti-vaxxers.
Yes.
Which I think to some extent we've talked about. But it's a combination of like, there's a whole entire group of people who have like a religious exemption from getting some sort of immunization. And then there are other people who are opting out. And so now you have a low-intensity epidemic occurring in some places and a pretty strong epidemic occurring in some communities, where these religious exemptions have led to people being very susceptible to a pretty potent disease.
Yeah, so basically, there's no way of knowing exactly how it came back up. I mean, I'm guessing someone with measles came into the United States and gave it to someone else, and then it spreads from there. We've all played Epidemic, right? What's the name of that game? Pandemic, sorry.
Pandemic, yeah.
So I'm guessing someone from another country. We're this country of immigrants here. So other countries don't necessarily have the same vaccination process as America. I'm not blaming any country in particular, but it's possible that someone came in with measles, didn't tell anyone, and then spread it to someone else. It's a highly contagious disease. You can spread it. You can spread airborne. It can spread via airborne coughs, sneezes, respiratory droplets in the air. It can spread by kissing someone. It can spread by skin to skin contact, handshakes, hugs. That's crazy. Or it can you could touch a contaminated surface, or you can also transfer it other ways. But the crazy thing about measles is that it actually sticks around. Like if you contaminate a surface with, if you have measles and you contaminate a surface by like licking it, let's say, that the measles strain will stick around on that surface for 2 hours. If you cough in the room, it'll stick around for 2 hours. It can live for up to 2 hours in the air. It's fucking insane.
So you should leave the TV on after you leave.
Yes, exactly. And it could also be that maybe someone went on an airplane, for instance. My friend just came back from Poland, and he said his girlfriend got sick on the airplane. So it's possible, they don't wipe down the airplane surfaces while you're using the airplane. They're not constantly cleaning the airplane. So airplanes can get pretty nasty while you're riding it, right? Depending on how long the flight is. So it could be someone got it in an airplane, who knows, and then brought it back to the United States. The larger underlying issue here is that we have an entire vaccination that completely cures this disease and completely gets rid of it. But if you already have the disease, it's very difficult to, completely cure you of the disease. It takes a lot of a good doctor who knows what they're doing. But if you're vaccinated when you're young, you won't get it ever. For instance, Ivan and I are both vaccinated for
Speak for yourself.
measles, mumps, and rubella. And we will never get those diseases because when we were young, we got those shots. And wouldn't you know it, maybe you could argue that we're on the spectrum for autism, but
but I think that's irregardless of,
yes.
of any kind of vaccination.
No, but so anti-vaxxers, as we term them in the United States, pretty much their main argument is that vaccinations increase the rate of developing autism for their children as they grow up. And so they don't want to vaccinate their children because they don't want to put their kids at risk of developing autism. And that's not true. There's just categorically not true at all. So when you don't vaccinate your children, you are actually helping these diseases spread. And whether it be for religion in the Orthodox Jewish community and Hasidic Jewish community, which I'm not entirely sure how they cross over, but I won't get into that, because clearly they do in some way, because there has been a measles outbreak in New York City for too long. Shouldn't happen. And so basically, when you don't do it, when you don't vaccinate these things, your children, you're just putting everyone at risk who has children and who is alive today. It's really bad. But yeah, so that's pretty much what's going on and why measles has come back. I don't have an exact reason why measles has popped up again, but I know that if we're not defending our children against it, then it's free to spread across the world.
Yeah. So actually in 2019 across the world, measles outbreaks have quadrupled in 2019, according to the United Nations, the World Health Organization. And in part, it's because of multiple things. So there were the anti-vaxxers and limited communities of people who did not believe in vaccinations or disagreed with the policies of vaccinations through whatever reasons. And then there's the increased poverty globally, and especially in regions that experience strife and conflict. So we see in Africa up to 700% increase in reported measles cases. That also might be linked to better reporting statistics in a variety of places as well. Mm-hmm. So this is a CNN or a BBC article, which you can trust for the most part, but not completely in terms of putting things into perspective. But Africa had a 700% up to 700% increase, but also Ukraine and India have been some of the most affected places with the disease. Which would make sense trending towards those places with a little bit more strife, as we saw with Sri Lanka recently. And in India, it's not necessarily strife, but it's as strife caused poverty as is in Ukraine, but just poverty in general, as we see experienced in India due to a variety of things. And projects in India to combat this haven't been as successful as in other places. And then Ukraine infrastructure just doesn't exist as potently as it did in previous regimes due to the conflict. So there's a lot of things globally happening that allow for an increase of vulnerable populations to not be addressed.
On the topic of Africa and diseases, I know that, and around the world, potentially, malaria is a huge killer of, I think it's the largest reason, I guess, cause of death on average over the years of all humans. In terms of diseases, at least. I know that I just read and watched a video about this, that they've sort of they've put a vaccination for malaria in and it's passed through that they've been researching for over the course of 30 years into human testing, I believe. So clinical trials, unless it's either that or it's actually been passed by the FDA and or whoever, the CDC, sorry. And so it's only 40% effective, but that will hopefully tide over and reduce the amounts of deaths per year from malaria until we can get a much better vaccination. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel, at least for people who are suffering from malaria. But as you're saying, it's not just America that it has measles outbreaks. It's all across the world, which is kind of crazy. And access to medicine and decent medical practices is a huge is really partially of what can separate a first world country from a third world country in many ways. And so these basic things that we do take for granted, even in America, where we have people who can't afford to get medicine, but also people who have insurance, right? It's still happening in America, which is really surprising to me. But I guess in the same time, it's not because of all this of the anti-vax movement.
And the anti-vax movement is also not restricted to the United States, as
right.
In the Philippines, for instance, there was a huge case of anti-vaccination fear-mongering, or vaccine fear-mongering. And
through Facebook, right?
Yeah.
No, not... They get a lot of their information from Facebook. I think I remember seeing John Oliver talk about that, right?
I don't know. I was listening to reports on NPR where they were talking about it, and there were actually... it's 70 deaths linked to this most recent measles outbreak. So it's not an unimportant outbreak of people who can be cured. It's just they're getting it and they're spreading it.
Well, again, any amount of people dying from measles is an outbreak because we've literally cured this disease. So I don't understand why it's happening, but it's so annoying. It's annoying. It's horrible. It makes me very angry. Science literally did its job, did all it could do, and really no. And people are refusing. Anyways, I think we've discussed this frustrating topic enough. Let's discuss something even more frustrating: the Sonic movie trailer. We're trying to move things along. We're already 40 minutes, aren't we? We're already at around 40 minutes
40.
right now. Let's discuss the Sonic movie trailer real quick. We want to keep things moving along, of course. This movie trailer came out during the week, and many people got very angry because of what Sonic looks like and how the movie's been portrayed. So Sonic the Hedgehog, a very famous video game character from Sega, the publisher. And I guess they also developed it. I'm not entirely sure because Sega's a publisher. I don't know who developed Sonic. But it's a first party studio from Sega. Sonic Team, I'm guessing, is the name of the developer. But they put out a movie trailer to the theme of Gangster's Paradise, a very famous song. I then went back and watched Amish Paradise, a much better song, in my opinion. Actually, I like Gangster's Paradise. But Amish Paradise is a great parody of that song. You should go listen to it and watch the music video. Jim Carrey's in this. Do you think this is a case of the movie Venom, where even a great actor can't save this? Or do you think Jim Carrey... I guess the better question is, do you like Jim Carrey as an actor?
I love Jim Carrey.
Me too.
I actually think he looks pretty brilliant in this trailer. A lot of people have big big problems with how Sonic looks.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main focus. And yeah, there are some details that I think could be changed to make him look a little bit more like the video game version of himself. But it's also he's also a character I don't actually care about.
Neither do I. I don't care
game,
about Sonic.
Video game outrage on this topic is much like the "Are games too easy?" if we put an easy mode topic in. And it's just like, I guess we have slow news weeks every once in a while, and we have to take some issue and inflate it. Like, measles being like 4 times more in the world is such a larger issue than Sonic having two human-like legs, you know?
Well, I think the real problem is why are they spending so much money making this movie when they could just donate all that money to fighting measles? Apparently. No, I think he doesn't look that great. I never really Sonic's design is alright. I kind of don't like how he looks anyways to begin with, but I know a lot of people love that shit and are really into Sonic, so all the more power to you. I think that Jim Carrey will be funny in this movie, but only because of his facial expressions. I don't think, because he's really animated. He's a fantastic actor, but I don't think that it's gonna have very good writing. So I don't know. And of course he's gonna improv a lot of lines because it's Jim Carrey. There's no way he's not gonna own like 50% of the lines that he delivers. But I really don't know what's gonna go on in this movie. It's crazy.
I don't understand how a Sonic the Hedgehog movie could exist.
Right, so that's the other thing I wanted to talk
built
about.
With plot, and that was kind of the point of early games development. Is like,
yeah,
it's not really a plot. Like you have,
he goes fast, man. He goes fast.
why did we need to make him a movie? Oh, because he's a known IP, and so that makes it easy to sell tickets to go see him. But other than that, there's really, really no reason.
Right. So I wanted to discuss a little bit about video game movies as a whole, and also comparing this to Detective Pikachu, which is sort of the rival furry CG animated video game character movie that's coming out this year. They're both coming out this year, but Detective Pikachu is coming out this month. Actually, I think next week. But so Detective Pikachu has a great actor in it, Ryan Reynolds, voicing Pikachu. So they're getting a lot of money behind the movies, in terms of actors, known actors anyways, in these movies, right? We've Jim Carrey and Ryan Reynolds. And then we're also spending a lot of money on the animation, right? The animation studios have come very far with technology over the years, and so now we're seeing more and more CG animation in movies. It looks like Detective Pikachu also has a decent plot, right? I think. I don't really know the plot at all, but
I don't know what the plot is.
It seems like there's more of a story and more of a fleshed out cinematic universe at bay with the Pokemon story, and it sort of seems like Sonic is just there to capitalize on Sonic. I feel like
that's the point, right? They went with Detective Pikachu. They could have done a Pikachu movie, right? But instead of that, they've refocused it and contextualized the character of Pikachu within something that they could actually build a legitimate story, which isn't just Pikachu exists in the real world, right?
Right, yeah.
So
you have to make these things believable.
Whereas Sonic the Hedgehog is just
going fast,
like, man. He's going fast. He's just another superhero, but he's the Flash without anything interesting about him.
Also, there was a conspiracy theory that the studio purposely released this version of the trailer with Sonic looking this way so that they could roll it back and say that we listened to your feedback and we want to make the movie look better for you guys. And so, because the
know how expensive
production
that
studio,
is?
I look. So what? So what, Ivan? Why are they doing it then? Because of the feedback? My questions are there, Ivan. And how are they so close to releasing it, right? I know it can all be done in post-production because it's the CG character. But or maybe you can shed some light on that. I don't know exactly the process, obviously. But isn't it kind of strange that they immediately rolled it back and said that we're going to change his look? I think it's kind of suspicious. What's going on, Sonic?
It is weird that they were like, I guess we gotta change
Also,
things.
we
But
still have
this isn't the first time that a trailer has looked like shit and then the movie looked better. If you think back to the original Spider-Man trailer, the Tobey Maguire one, the trailer looked like absolute horseshit garbage. And then the movie is widely regarded as one of the best superhero movies ever made. And looked a lot better. So there is some flexibility in how the design works, and like a team that's pushing out a trailer is most likely the marketing team or a marketing agency that's pushing out a trailer, as opposed to the people who are actually making the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be some updates that will happen, and they might have already talked to test groups and been like, well, the test groups don't like what Sonic looks like, but they don't know if it's a big enough issue to put in the extra money to change things.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make a trailer with the other one, and if there's enough feedback that it clearly shows that we should change it, let's go through with the changes.
Okay.
You see, like if there's a backlash, but it's not strong enough in the focus groups, then they can put a trailer out as a kind of testing the waters. It depends on how you release a trailer, right? Usually that should be a teaser trailer or something like that, something that's 30-45 seconds long if I was going to do it, rather than a full-length trailer. But if they're already that far in the process and they're having to change things, then, that's the game. That's how you play it.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Conspiracy theory debunked. Mythbusters, Ivan and Julien. We're Mythbusters too. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, I think we should try to be the Mythbusters.
I would love to
for
do
Halloween.
That.
Anyways.
Yeah, I'll be the fat guy.
I'll be Adam Savage, apparently. I don't think that's going to work out. Anyways, there's one more topic you wanted to cover, unless you want to just end the podcast now in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. It's up to you, Yvonne. We can touch upon superconductivity if you'd like, really quickly. Or there was another one that you wanted to discuss.
The asteroid defense of the Earth failed.
Asteroid defense. Yes,
NASA
we can discuss superconductivity if you want us to on a future podcast.
Yeah, when it's actually kind of a feasible thing that we'll have to break down what superconductivity is, why doesn't it work, and what could it do if it potentially did work.
Yeah, we could.
In any case, NASA and FEMA practiced a simulation of an asteroid, a huge asteroid coming to the Earth. This is on the heels, I guess, they plan these every 4 years, I think, but this one in particular is on the heels of the Japanese Hayabusa 2, which shot some space object, a meteor or an asteroid or something.
Yeah.
An asteroid probably, because it didn't enter the Earth's atmosphere, I assume.
Yeah.
In order to test, because they wanted to look at what was underneath and see what that material was. But also it's kind of a test to see if they can destroy things. So the test that was conducted was, oh my god, there's a huge thing headed for us. It has a 1 in 100 chance of hitting the Earth. And then it was like, this thing is going to hit the Earth eventually, after they sent out some probes. And then they tried to divert the path, and they sent rockets from literally every simulated from every single Earth Space Agency, from India to Russia to Japan, etc. And they broke it in two. And instead of hitting Colorado, it was then going to, one half of it was going to escape the Earth, and the other one was going to hit directly into Manhattan. And everybody had a month to get away. But it's not like a regular disaster, because everything would be vaporized in Manhattan. So basically you're evacuating a multi-million inhabited city of everything over the course of 1 month. Imagine
Oh,
what
God.
that would be. And I don't think there was I don't think that they were successful in trying to nuke the asteroid as it came in. I think they missed their chance.
It's a damn shame. So they got the A team of scientists together, and we couldn't solve the problem. We're all gonna die in Manhattan. Of course, I'm in Brooklyn, so I'm good.
Yeah,
But
you're fine.
yeah, totally, it's fine. That's horrible. But it's not. It's not, and it sounds, I think, a little more negative than it might be. But it's basically a situation where they've just tried to put the pressure on the scientists and the teams of engineers together to see if they could solve the problem on the fly. But in reality, I feel like these types of situations, if an asteroid were to come into Earth's atmosphere that could potentially destroy Manhattan and America, let's say, we would have much more better monitoring of the situation beforehand, and thus more time to devise a plan, a defense strategy to break up the asteroid, I feel like. But I'm not
Yes
entirely
and
sure.
no. This started as an asteroid that had a 1 in 100 chance of hitting the Earth with like time to spare, and
Okay.
they condensed it down into like 4 days of basically what could we do. A lot of what happens in space travel, right, is the time of things to actually get where they're going. So I
Yeah.
think they shortened up the simulation of time in order to get results of what the actions that were happening were.
Yeah. Well,
So I don't know. I'm scared, but we're okay for now because there's not a likelihood of this of Earth coming into contact with things that would do this kind of thing. And there was a something that happened in Russia, right, a few years ago.
there was that asteroid, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah. And
hit.
it didn't kill everybody, so that was good.
Yeah, it hit a farm, didn't it, or something?
It was intense, whatever it did. I remember
There's a lot
watching
of
all
there's
of
actual
the.
video footage
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it too,
because
which is
everybody
cool.
in Russia has dash cams, so.
Dash cams, just for the YouTube videos,
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I see your concern, but I also think that our valiant leader Trump has decided to put some money into the Space Defense Force. He really
Space
likes that stuff.
Force.
So we'll be
Forcing
fine.
into
Don't worry.
space.
I honestly think that NASA and I guess SpaceX to a certain extent are constantly probing the cosmic background radiation, and really observing all objects in all different directions that could be potentially heading towards Earth. So I think that they are well, I mean, they're our first line of defense anyways, I guess, in this situation. So I think that they're well aware that this was a failure and that they can learn from their mistakes. I think it was good
Yes.
that they had a simulation as opposed to actually having to do it in real life.
And it's a consistent one.
Yep.
So it's something that is a problem that is being worked on before it is even a problem.
Yes,
Which is nice
scientists
for
preparing
once.
for the future. What a surprise.
But a lot of science is like, we have this current problem. How do
Yeah,
we
I know.
fix this current problem? And this is like, this isn't a problem currently. Nobody's dying from it. But if it did happen, how do we address it? Which is one of the few instances where science actually has the funding to do that.
Sort
and
of.
that's nice.
NASA gets 1 cent on every dollar of tax money, I think.
No.
It's pretty low. Anyways, that's about it. That's what we got for you guys today. Don't complain, all right? You get what you get. Jesus, keep the conversation going in the comment section below. We'd love to discuss with you guys further there. We've been getting a lot of comments on our videos lately. Thank you very much for commenting on our sweet unboxings. And of course, our episode 70, we got some guy commenting in Spanish, which I had to Google Translate, but I also didn't really understand. You might understand what he said. I'm not sure, or she. I'm
I
not
will
sure.
go check it out.
Yeah, they discuss episode 70 where we reviewed. If you'd like to see us review more movies, which apparently you guys might, the few movie podcasts that we've done have gotten much better viewership than most of our podcasts. So if you want to see us review more movies, please tell us in the comment section below if you made it this far in the podcast. Thank you very much. We end our podcast out in a second.
You have gotten that wrong almost
every time. Every time. In a song, in a segment called Hungover Radio. That's how we end our podcast. Please send in your music to gaminghungover@gmail.com if you'd like to hear it at the end of the podcast. And, you know, potentially a lot of other people could listen to it if anyone listened to our podcast. But that's about it. I'm going to play, because we didn't get a song sent in. Come on, I check this email every day, or my phone does for me. I'm going to play Sonic the Hedgehog Green Hill Zone theme, because we discussed Sonic the Hedgehog movie. This probably should have been in the trailer as opposed to Gangster Paradise, but they got to make everything that Hollywood sheen, as you know what it is. Not
Yep.
Charlie Sheen. But yeah, I'm going to play this song for you guys. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for listening to our podcast. We really enjoy making them for you. That's about it for me. Thanks, Ivan, for doing a podcast, and